He's been the answer. He hurt his right leg. Something happened.
Kevin Durant's hurt.
He's limping.
Trying to walk it off. Kevin Durant's going right to the locker room.
Limping badly.
If Kevin is out, we're going to have to find a way.
You lose your best player, it's deflating.
We got to have his back.
We desperately need him if we want to win a championship.
As we wait for the MRI results on Kevin Durant, I'm so glad that you're here, Stefania Beller, injury analyst, because she's the one that can sort of help us understand the waiting game and what's going to go into this injury for Kevin Durant. So let's just start here. What's the worst case scenario here?
Well, we have already heard that the Warriors fear a torn Achilles. So if we go down that path of if he has a torn Achilles that requires surgery, your worst fear is that a player doesn't return to his pre-injury level of form. And with an Achilles, that's explosiveness, that's leaping ability, especially for a basketball player. So you certainly hope that that's not the case, but that would be your worst case scenario.
The Warriors have said it is an Achilles injury, and there are certain ways that we can call it. What is the difference between an Achilles ruptured and an Achilles tear?
Well, when you hear rupture right away, that comes to mind like it's the integrity of that connection of the Achilles to the heel is gone. And a tear, it really comes down to the percentage. You know, that's what the imaging is for. They'll see exactly where the injury is. That makes a difference. You know, is it at the attachment to the heel, which is a little bit more serious of an injury, a little bit more complicated to repair? Is it up higher in the tendon, which has potentially a better prognosis? So there's a lot of those nuances that come out of the imaging. But a tear, if it's a significant loss of function, usually means surgery, especially for an athlete.
So what's the best case scenario that can come out of this MRI?
That they see something clean, you know, that's easy to repair if the repair is required, and that, you know, they proceed accordingly. I mean, the rehab process is long for this. We've already heard people talking about a red shirt for a year. You know,
right.
9 months is about the soonest that you would expect to see a basketball player return from this. 9 months to a year, but think of all the factors that matter. I mentioned the location of the injury, the type of surgery. There are different types of procedures for this. How much scar tissue is involved? You worry about an infection early on. There's a higher risk because the skin is thin around the Achilles. You know, these are all things that factor into it, which is why a blanket timetable is so hard to issue.
It's hard not to compare injuries in this sort of situation because an ACL tear is going to keep you out about the same amount of time. Tommy John keeps you out for about a season as well. What makes the Achilles so hard to rehab, so hard to come back from?
Well, when you're talking about a hoops player, it's the demand on the tendon. You know, you saw that plant and push off where Kevin Durant appeared to suffer the injury. That's common. That's how Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles, because there's so much energy demand, tension placed on the Achilles in that position. So think of all the quick plant and change of direction that happens in hoops, the jumping, the leaping, the running up and down the court. It's tough to get all that back, and there's a long time where they're deconditioned because they're not able to rehab while they're protecting the repair.
Real quick, how significant is the worry of injury when he does return?
It's not a worry of re-tear of the rupture so much as the worry about injury to other things. It's what we saw with Boogie Cousins. You know, a secondary
played
injury.
32 games and hurt his quad.
Yeah.
Kobe came back from his Achilles injury and then broke his kneecap.
Right, it does happen.
It does
the age of the athlete, the conditioning, all of that stuff factors
Kevin
in.
Durant currently is 30. Results of his MRI are expected today. By the way, Katie's mom, Wanda Durant, is going to be on Good Morning America at 8:15 Eastern this morning. As for the series, it continues, and Game 6 is Thursday night. NBA Countdown is going to get you started 8:30 Eastern on ABC. Then that's followed by the game at 9. New York, and the wait is for the results of the MRI. We know it's an Achilles injury. The question is, how bad is it? The Warriors say they expect to have some news today, and when they have it, we'll have it, and so too will you. In the meantime, from football to golf, the sports world continues to react.
It was sad. As athletes, we've all been there to that spot when you just know it, that something just went and can't move, can't do much of anything, and you can see it on his face, how solemn his face went. I mean, he knows it. When things pop, you just know.
For anyone to question, you know, his toughness or his willingness to be a good teammate, I'm sure many people were probably speculating, is he just trying to get the free agency because he has a big payday going? No, this guy had a rough injury, decided to come back and put his body on the line in a must-win game.
So we are expecting the results of the MRI at some point today. Woj is here now. What are you hearing in terms of what we should expect the severity of this injury is for KD?
The expectation is that this will be a torn Achilles tendon. The MRI will likely confirm that, and it'll confirm the severity of the injury, what kind of rehab Kevin Durant will be facing over the next several months, year.
Woj, when this injury goes down in the finals, everyone's sitting there thinking, oh no, because of the impact and the ripple effect this could have across the league. And Durant has to make a decision in his own right. He can opt in with the Warriors this summer, or he can become a free agent. How might this injury impact that decision?
It's still likely he will opt out of that contract, because if he wants to return to the Warriors, you know, he can. By opting in, it's a $31.5 million salary next year. By opting out and doing another short deal, hypothetically, with the Warriors, that new deal starts at $38 million. But I think there's a sense around the league that he may still try to go get a long-term deal. I think that's especially important for a player with an Achilles injury whose return to the NBA may not be until he's 32 years old if he misses all of next year. And to go out into the marketplace, whether it's New York, whether it's the Clippers, whether it's staying in Golden State, and figuring that a team will still bank on the possibility that Durant will still return at a high level, but essentially he'd be a $38 million plus redshirt player next season for whichever team he signs with.
I have a hard time wrapping my head around that situation a little bit. This is a guy, though, who has averaged for his career 70 games a season. And as Woj just said, he's 30 right now. He'll turn 31 in September. If he misses all of next season, Kevin Durant won't be back on the court again until he's 32.
Watched last night. Warriors got by the Raptors, but this was the bad news on that play there. Kevin Durant trying to come back down 3-1, injured, out of the game after a fast start. Our league sources tell us the Warriors believe the MRA Kevin Durant underwent will confirm an Achilles tear. We bring in Chiney Ogwumike, a member of the Sparks, a #1 pick in the WNBA, a member of our team as an analyst. We're not saying your injury a few years back to the Achilles and KD's are carbon copies, but really any rehab of the Achilles-related injury is somewhat similar. Take us through the process. How difficult is it?
As a basketball player, an Achilles injury is probably, if not the hardest thing to overcome. And I'll take you through the process, but it's a twofold process. On one side, there's the physical. 8 weeks, you're gonna be non-weight bearing. You can't stand on your own 2 feet. Then after that, you have to relearn how to walk, relearn how to run, relearn the game of basketball, which you've known your whole life. And you start questioning yourself, which leads to the second side, the mental aspect. The self-doubt will creep in. That might be the actual hardest part about coming back from an injury. But there's good news for Kevin Durant. Right here, I am a living embodiment of coming back. Yes, you can make it. Now, I know the list is short of people that have had this injury and have had success after. Dominique Wilkins, myself, but the list will get longer. You can add Breanna Stewart to that, and you can also add Kevin Durant, because science has changed and athletes have better chances than before to emerge stronger.
There's a whole bunch of pain involved, too, just in the rehab part. They're back there pinching on your Achilles, trying to break up the scar tissue. How tough is that?
That is an extremely difficult thing to try to wrap your mind around, going in every day and experiencing pain where you didn't have it before. And again, it's probably going to be, and it will be, a long process. It'll be a tough process. It'll be a grueling process. But you know me, I'm an optimist. There's always beauty in the struggle. Now, a lot of people have talked to Kevin Durant and around Kevin Durant about his decisions, right? And we tend to judge him not necessarily just as a basketball player, but as a human being. But one thing I learned coming back from my own Achilles injury is that as a human being, you emerge stronger than ever before. And I think that might unleash the best version of Kevin Durant, the individual, both on and off the court. So it's not a death sentence for your career to have an Achilles injury, but you have to trust the process, be committed to the process, and you'd be surprised. You might turn the corner and emerge stronger than ever.
I was going to ask what advice you've given. I think you just gave it. Thanks for joining us. Good luck in your game Friday in Phoenix.
Thank you so much.
To be. But he was hardly the only grade 1 talent on Duke's team. We'll introduce you to the others one at a time. All right, let's go with R.J. Barrett tonight. And just for a minute, let's forget about his basketball talent, which is rich. He's bilingual, for one. He's the godson of Steve Nash, for two. Also, he knows Maria Taylor.
R.J. Barrett, Duke University. shout out to my mom who just got a knee surgery. I love you, Mom, and I wish you could be here.
Barrett gets by the defense and flushes with a vicious left hand. Barrett living up to the hype.
I know I do this to you every time, but...
Oh, here we go. Why she gotta do me like that?
Qu'est-ce que tu penses que jouer au basket dans la NBA?
Je voulais jouer dans la NBA depuis que j'avais comme 8 ans, 10 ans, alors je suis très content que j'ai l'opportunité.
When did you learn how to speak French?
I was young. My dad was playing basketball in France, so for 4 years I was there and just learning the language. And when I came back to Canada, I stayed in the French system all the way up until high school, so I've been speaking French most of my life.
I know when you were younger, your dad tells a story about the day that you come up to him and say, Dad, I'm going to be an NBA All-Star. And he pulls out a whiteboard and says, okay, let's write down the goals that we have to accomplish to get there. Take me back to that moment.
Well, back then I had no idea how hard it would be, but my dad just told me, write down your goals and achieve them one by one. And, that's just what we did.
Describe some of the goals that were on the whiteboard.
Whether it was being a McDonald's All-American or, going to a top school like Duke or Kentucky, North Carolina, and being a high draft pick, and then just, slowly, one by one, All-Star, MVP, everything, Hall of Famer was my big one at the end, so it's actually a lot of fun. I looked down at the whole column was gone already, so, it's exciting, but even though that column's gone, there's still so much more on the whiteboard that I have to achieve.
Outside Barrett look is a lefty three that's all net.
The nickname they came up with, what was it?
They call me the Maple Mamba. I like that a lot. The Canadian Maple Leafs, so I get to rep my home, and also Kobe's mentality, that Mamba mentality, and my competitive nature. So, both together, you get the Maple Mamba.
Canadian basketball, that's a little different too. In a lot of ways, you were off the radar till you were on it at Duke. How does it compare?
It's different playing style, it's international, so definitely a lot, the rules are different. At the end of the day, I feel like I'm lucky because I have the international side and the American side, so, I feel like I have an advantage.
What was that like for you to watch your godfather, Steve Nash, playing the NBA?
It was kind of funny because I just remember I think I was 10 or 11 years old, and he was playing against Kobe. I was like, Dad, what's Uncle Steve gonna do against Kobe? But nah, just to, see the things that he went through kind of, just kind of prepared me for real. I was able to watch, what he was doing and say, I want to be in that position one day. So now I'm here.
What did he tell you about being in that position?
There's gonna be, rough days, tough times. You don't want to do it, but, just to remember that, you wanted this life, you chose this life, and there's so many more benefits. So to just, keep stay humble and just work harder than anybody else.
Your dad said that Steve Nash bought you your first crib. When you hear something like that, what's your reaction?
Just, he cares, and it's not like it's just now because I'm starting to, get into the NBA and stuff. It's since before I even knew who he was. So he's always been there in my life, and I appreciate that.
And obviously the brotherhood that everyone talks about between you and Zion. You're in the middle of it. Describe it for me.
It's great, he's just my friend, to me we're just boys, but then, to everybody else it's, they see us as these, great basketball players. So for us off the court, for the most part, we don't talk about any of that stuff. We just, just cool together, I guess.
What are y'all doing off the court?
We actually, more than anything, go out to eat. We just eat all the time. Just eat, just do things that, 18-year-olds do.
Okay, if you could put together the perfect meal for RJ and Zion, what's it gonna be? Where y'all going?
We're either going to Wendy's or Zaxby's. Probably Wendy's, and we're gonna get a couple Baconators, so, yeah.
He'll be able to afford many Baconators soon. Here's a look at Jonathan Givony's updated mock draft. 9 days away from hearing the real names at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Not much of a surprise in the top three. Got Barrett going to the Knicks. Last time New York selected a player from Duke, way back in 1982, they took Vince Taylor in the second round. Yeah. Averaged 3 points per game in his lone season at MSG.